Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios. College football is finally here. To talk more about it, well, I had to reach out to the queen of the sports betting. You go to ESPN.com for all of her college football coverage, as well as golf and tennis. But that's another conversation another day. It is Pam Maldonado joining me here on 97.3 ESPN. Pam, welcome in. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. You just mentioned that I also do golf. Well, I picked two players for the Tour Championship, and they are in first and second. You can't ask for a better start.
I am not surprised by that one bit, to say the least. But so let's get to the college football, though, because, this is something that, people like you and me have been waiting for all year long, right? And let's just break the ice, okay? The big game, Saturday, August 30th. Folks can hear it on our sister station, Rock 104.1, Texas, Ohio State. From a gambling perspective, I know a lot of people look at this game from the Heisman Trophy situation. So talk to me about, I know Arch Manning's the favorite. I know Jeremiah Smith is a guy. Julian Sain just got the starting quarterback gig. Break it down for us, Pam.
So you want to first start with the Heisman chat. Julian Sain, Arch Manning. Who has a better shot at winning the Heisman? I'm going to go Sain might be the better football answer, but if we're talking about Heisman narratives, Arch Manning is built for it. I also have to give the caveat, I am a Longhorn, by the way, but I come purely objective with this. And the name alone buys Arch Manning headlines before he even throws a pass. ESPN is ready. College Game Day is ready. Every casual fan who's never watched Texas football in their life knows the Mannings. So it's nostalgia, it's pedigree, it's hype rolled into one. If Manning does, in fact, put together a strong September with a couple of, hey, did you see that moment? Couple of highlights, he makes it into the top 10, he's absolutely going to dominate the conversation. The media loves a legacy story, and the Heisman is as much of a popularity contest as it is a football award. Saying, in my opinion, he could absolutely outplay him, but Arch doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be good enough with the Manning name attached.
Now, when you say good enough, what is like a reasonable expectation for a guy like him who, let's be realistic, he had 2 starts last year against teams with defenses that are probably the equivalent to D2.
I mean, if Arch Manning can take Texas to a playoff spot in their first year with as much turnover as they've had, because they lost a lot of players to the NFL. It was upwards of like 26 players to the NFL. You have a almost brand new team. And if Arch Manning is at the helm of that, taking them into the playoff, being competitive, or they even knock out Ohio State week 1, automatically he not just enters the season as the favorite, he will remain the favorite.
With all that being said, talk to us about Jeremiah Smith. Is that somebody that you're looking at for any bets this year?
If there is a preseason wager that if I was forced to make a preseason wager on who's going to win the Heisman, I'm taking Jeremiah Smith all day. This isn't a Heisman sleeper. He's already playing like the guy who everybody else is chasing. Jeremiah Smith walked into Ohio State last season as a true freshman and instantly looked like that guy. I know that phrase is kind of overused in a lot of sports narratives, but Jeremiah Smith legit is that guy. And now he has a year under his belt. He's stronger. He's faster. He's 6'3", 215 pounds. He is a matchup nightmare. He's too big for corners. He's too fast for safeties and then too smooth for anybody to really slow down. Ohio State's offense is absolutely going to run through him. Julian Sain got the start. He is a young quarterback. They're going to rely on Smith for a lot of big time moments. You have big TV games right out the gate. Week 1, huge stages, highlight opportunities everywhere. If Smith stacks a couple of 150-yard, 2-touchdown performances, he's not going to be in the Heisman conversation. He's going to control it. And you're getting really good odds for him because he's not Arch Manning. He's no longer a breakout candidate. Everyone's already putting him on this pedestal like he's expected to win at some point in his college career. What needs to happen is he needs to click with Sain. So if those two find rhythm early, Smith's production is going to explode.
Talking with ESPN betting analyst Penn Maldonado here on Hanging with Hennig. Josh Hennig in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on 97.3 ESPN. Stick with the Big Ten. A lot of Penn State alumni in this area, Pam. I think this 10.5 wins is intriguing because if they make the playoff and they make a couple of rounds, that's an opportunity for extend that number.
Right.
When you look at Penn State? Are they in a position maybe like Ohio State last year where it's like we don't know if they can win the championship in the conference, but they can make a deep playoff run?
In short, yes, Penn State could win the national title without winning the Big Ten. And you mentioned a few things need to align. Ohio State's 24 run, it showed that it can be done. Ohio State lost to Michigan, didn't even play in the Big Ten championship, and still made the playoff and then ran the table. Now, in the 12-team playoff, the path is even easier. Penn State could drop a game, miss out on the Big Ten crown, and still get in. Conference title is nice, especially this year because of getting those buys, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker anymore. And it's actually happened in other times before. Alabama in 2017, they lost their conference championship, but still won the Natty. Georgia in 2021, they lost the SEC title game to Alabama, got into the playoff, and came back to beat them in the national title. Nebraska, we're going way back to 2001, lost their way out of the conference title game, but still made it, won under the BCS system. So I know that those were years back, and we're talking about the new 12 system. But in the new playoff system, of course, there's new rules that apply, but it absolutely can be done. And they have a really good roster to put themselves in position to either still win the conference for an opportunity or lose a game and still be in.
We've talked about Penn State, Ohio State, but who is their biggest threat in the Big Ten in 2025?
Ohio State. I am so high on Ohio State. The big difference between Ohio State last year and this year is that they have a new quarterback. But all of the parts are there for Ohio State to not only make it into the playoff, also win the Big Ten, potentially knock off Michigan, go back-to-back titles, because the unit, the Buckeyes as a whole, have the infrastructure. They have their returning players, and the only question mark that you have is Sayin. But we've seen in previous years when your roster is so stacked, the lack of quarterback play, especially if you are a mobile quarterback, can kind of be made up for because the roster around you is so good. And the team that comes to mind is Mac Jones. I don't believe that he was a spectacular quarterback by any means, but his receiving core was absolutely elite. Alabama got it done. I believe that Ohio State has a lot of similar qualities.
All right, so let's do a 6-pack of picks here with Pam Maldonado from ESPN Bet. Of course, you can check out all of our coverage at ESPN.com, college football, golf, tennis, the whole 9 yards, also the NFL as well. I've been seeing your previews over there in that category as well. But let's do with the over-unders. Now, for those who don't know, Pam and I have picked the teams, but Pam doesn't know what I think of these numbers. So this is going to be her stating her case, and I'm just basically going to say if I agree or disagree, and I'm just going to be that guy. So let's start. South Carolina, 7.5, Pam.
Give me the over, South Carolina with the Gamecocks. This feels sneaky good because quarterback Lenora Sellers changes everything for this team. Sellers is a true dual threat with legit Jaden Daniels vibes. That's who I think of. That's his comp. The kind of quarterback who can carry an offense when things break down. And the defense definitely lost some veterans. That's my worry because the strength of South Carolina last year was its defense. But this game is still aggressive. You've still got playmakers in Dylan Stewart and Jalen Kilgore to lean on. The Gamecocks closed 24 seasons, 6 straight wins, and now they've got confidence, they've got momentum, and they have a clear identity on offense, which is something they didn't start the season with last year. So if the young skill guys can make a leap, Sellers, it's the putting my trust in him as a quarterback can get them to 8 wins and cash this ticket.
Now, I agree with you on this one. I not just tell you mentioned Kilgore. That's an important part because he's got to make up for the losses of guys like Kennard and Sands and all those guys. So to me, if he can step up, I just think this is a team that could really threaten the SEC East and maybe make some trouble for people in getting to that conference championship game. Let's go to UNLV, 8.5 wins. Dan Mullen now the head coach. How is Pam Maldonado feeling?
Dan Mullen, give me the under 8.5. It's basically a bet against the hype because you mentioned Dan Mullen. Great hire, but this is a full reset on the UNLV Rebels. Only 2 starters returned. The entire offensive line is brand new. They're still figuring out the quarterback between Anthony Calandria and Alex Orji. Both are supposed to be playing in week 0. You do have a running back in Jaden Thomas who is solid, but it's really hard to see him finding the same running lanes behind a rebuilt front. Defensively, it's more turnover, new faces literally everywhere. And the schedule doesn't help them either because they have trips to Boise State, to Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno late in the year when all of that depth is going to get tested. There's talent, but you need to have veteran and cohesive talent. So 9-3 feels like a stretch with so many new parts. 7-5 to me makes more sense. I'm in on the under.
I'm leaning under 2, but I do think they get to 8. I think that they have enough to at least get there. But like you said, the
But you're
hype
still
might
an
be
under.
it's the hype might be too much. Just might be a
Correct.
little too much there. Let's go with Alabama 9.5. Name brand Kellen DeBoer, the head coach, new quarterback at Alabama this year.
I'm getting so much flack for this one because I did a top 25 article for ESPN, and immediately it was Alabama under 9.5, Alabama plus 125 to miss the college football playoff. And it sounds wild because it's an Alabama name, but this isn't the same Alabama defense that we are used to. Last year, they were 52nd against the run, gave up points on 85% of red zone trips on the road. That was bottom 10 in the country. Looking at their schedule, they are going to Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, Auburn, all on the road. New quarterback, the offense can maybe keep them alive. I expect a lot of shootouts. Shootouts become coin flips. Losing key parts on defense when you were already suspect to begin with in a 12-team playoff, 10-2 is probably not going to cut it. This scares me. It scares some people, but they're also not Alabama is also not the biggest name anymore in the SEC, I believe. Crimson Tide, the cracks are starting to show.
This is one I'm probably the most passionate about. Give me the under on this 9.5 all day. I absolutely hate the way this roster is constructed. I think DeBoer was a bad hire at Alabama. He does not recruit that area well. And for me, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be surprised if they win 7 or 8 games. Like I think this could be an absolute dumpster fire because you mentioned the coin flip. You know how it is. That coin flip flips the other way real quick when you're depending too much on offense.
I totally agree with you. I made a statement of I'm not sure that Kalen DeBoer is a good fit for Alabama, and I have received so much smoke for that because you can be a great coach, absolutely. It doesn't make you a great fit for the players that you have at your disposal, and I don't think the two are combining right now. They're not cohesive.
You also never want to be the man who follows the man. So
Correct.
there's always that factor as well. All right, 3 more for our 6-pack of over-unders with Pam Maldonado from ESPN.com. Kansas State, 8.5. They're playing in Dublin today. Talk to me about K-State.
I am so excited for K-State, like overly excited. Like I'm in on a love letter with Avery Johnson right now because the kid is a real deal. He has 2,800 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 600 yards on the ground, and he barely turns the ball over. He is aggressive. He pushes the ball downfield. Avery Johnson is a legit dual threat quarterback who can finish drives on his own. And that's the kind of quarterback that you want to build a season around. Surround him with one of the best front sevens in the Big 12, a loaded backfield, and explosive skill guys. And this team, honestly, I am so high on K-State, like 10 wins written all over it to win the Big 12, to go into the playoff, to maybe make some noise. They could potentially be last year's Arizona State. And sure, like the offensive line, the defensive line is potentially going to be like the question mark. The secondary is basically brand new, but the upside is definitely worth betting on. I think K-State has the roster, they have the quarterback, and they definitely have the schedule to lean on. They won the Big 12 back in 2022, and I think this team is going to be stronger than that one.
I like the over on K-State, but it's more so because of Kleiman than Johnson. They were 6-1 when he has 60% completion percentage or better, which means if he faces a team that's got a good defensive game plan, it might be problematic. But I think Kleiman is going to take advantage of a weird schedule this year. So I do like the over, but I got to admit, I'm not as passionate about it as I am about the Alabama pick.
What happens is what happens is I do a lot of these things, right? So I've written some of these predictions multiple times. I've done a video for it. I've got on ESPN Air on television for ESPN Bet. I've done this multiple times, different versions, different responses, different scenarios. So it's not just me regurgitating the same thing. I'm looking for multiple reasons, and I continuously find new reasons to like K-State, which just like it strengthens my conviction in it.
The next one I also have a very intense conviction about, just to warn you, okay?
Okay.
Hawaii, 5.5. Anybody's listening to me here on 97.3 ESPN knows, since sports betting became legal in New Jersey in 2018, Hawaii has been one of my go-to picks over the years. So I feel very strongly about Hawaii. I know certain books have a 5.5, others have a 6.5. But the opinion for me is the same. Is it the same for you, Pam Maldonado?
I'm assuming that you love them just as much as I do. I think they're going to be your favorite late night sweat. You know, the one where you're down, you've been down for the day, and then you see Hawaii kicking off at 11:30 p.m. Your hoodie is on, your eyes are half shut, and you're like, you know what? Let's just give it a whirl. Except the problem is, or not the problem, but the benefit is that back in Hawaii might actually be a very good wager to make this season. Timmy Chang finally has a roster that's built in his image. Redshirt freshman quarterback Mika Alejado, he is legit. First career start, he had nearly 500 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and now he's stepping into a full-time role with legit weapons around him. 7 starters are back on defense. The schedule skips Boise State, and all 7 home games are winnable. So this team, Hawaii, can actually get to 7 or 8 wins without needing a miracle. So yeah, if you're staying up late night watching the Hawaii hammer it, because at least if you find them in underdog spots, that's what I'm looking for. I like Hawaii over 5.5. You said the line is now 6.5. I like them at 6.5 as well.
I like them to win 9 games.
Hey, I don't know if I'm that bold, but yes.
Because the thing to me is their road games, I don't think Colorado State's as good as they were last year. I don't think San Jose State is as good as they were last year. And if what you and I talked about, UNLV is correct, that game, right, I think it's the second to last game of the year for Hawaii, that probably might define who's going to play in the conference championship game to some people's minds. And if Hawaii's hanging around that 7-8 win mark by the end of the year, and then they finish the year with Wyoming, I think it is. I mean, come on. I mean, that's a schedule they should eat up.
Hawaii might be my favorite lookout team in the country. Not for them to, like, you know, we're not talking about national, but I'm talking about when you're sweating a team that can actually cash. If they're going to be put in the underdog role, I believe Hawaii is going to be a team that's going to make you some money as underdogs. I love teams not to just cover, but to win.
Hey, listen, we always talk about here on 97.3 ESPN, you don't win by the teams that you think are going to win. You win by the teams you think that are going to cover. There's a huge, huge difference. Finally, BYU 8.5. I think this is one of the most controversial lines that I've seen anywhere on the internet.
I like the under. I think this team is solid. BYU is solid, but the schedule is a huge grind. They've got road trips to Texas, Utah, UCF, plus tough swing games against Arizona and K-State. That is a lot of coin flips, and you can't drop more than 3 if you want the over. So that offense should be fine, I believe, but the defense gave up way too many big plays last year, and I'm not sure that the portal fixes that overnight. 8 feels like a ceiling. 7-5, 8-4 is way more realistic than 9-3.
We finally found one we disagree on. I think they go over. You mentioned the offense. I think the offense is going to overwhelm a lot of people. I really only feel like there's only a couple of games I'm really worried about. At Iowa State, I think at Arizona could be a little dangerous as well. So to me, I think that there's too many winnable games for them where their offense could just go nuts.
I wasn't high on BYU last year, and it's just maybe this is more of a biased opinion, but I wasn't high on them last year. I think they got lucky by schedule. I think they were fortunate in a lot of spots, and I just believe that this year it's going to carry over, and we're going to see the true the BYU team.
I think that a lot of people, and not to throw you under the bus, I think a lot of people are underestimating Bear Brockmeyer. I think that kid, he went there for a reason. He could have gone to a lot of other places. He's kind of got, I'm not saying he is, but he's kind of got Jaden Daniels freshman year Arizona State vibe for me.
Okay. We'll see.
Listen, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it, okay? But
me too. I've given it, we're not even into week 0 yet. We're like still a couple, tomorrow or today? We're barely about to kick off week 0. I've already made 60 plus predictions. So here we are. We're going to be wrong.
Listen, you can't get them all right, but you can at least have the right information. And Pam Maldonado always gives that to you at ESPN.com, covering the NFL, college football, golf, and tennis as well. She's got you covered all year round at ESPN.com. Pam, appreciate you jumping on. And this was fun. We'll have to do it again.
We'll do it again.